What is up, you guys? The All Blacks have named an absolutely fascinating team to play Japan way ahead of schedule too. Interesting not just for the team this weekend, but what it foreshadows for this tour of Europe and the UK. I think some of these selections give us a clue of who's going to be starting those massive games: England, Ireland, France. Don't forget Italy too. That's the ultimate banana peel game. So in this video, I'm going to break down what it means for this Saturday and the tour going forward. Let's get to it. Well, look, Japan is a dangerous team. Their highest high, clearly, maybe the biggest upset in the history of international rugby, was when they rolled the Springboks in the 2015 Rugby World Cup. An absolutely unforgettable boil-over. I would say they have been somewhat in decline since then. They definitely did show up for their home World Cup in 2019, and they came close to the All Blacks in their last outing. I actually just rewatched the game from 2022. It was a 38-31 win to the All Blacks, but it was a heart attack of a game. And the Japanese are incredibly dangerous in front of their home crowd when they start throwing the ball around. So in a funny way, I look at the front row here, which is one of the biggest that the All Blacks has ever put out. I mean, Tamati Williams and Pasilio Tosi, these guys are huge. They've got to be around that 6'4", 6'5" mark. 140 kgs. I think the ABs are saying, listen, we're going to take you on up front. We're going to take you on at the set piece. We don't want this to just turn into a loosey-goosey, helter-skelter game, because when you do that against Japan on a hard, dry track, you're really inviting them into the game and inviting danger into the game. Now, as I said, the Japanese have probably overall been in a macro decline, if we want to say that 2015 was the highest high for them. But yeah, they showed in 2022 they are incredibly dangerous against any opposition, so you can't take them too lightly. And this is, a front row that we really could see starting for the All Blacks sooner rather than later. Not sure about Asafo Amua pushing Cody Taylor out anytime soon, but certainly 1 and 3 you could be seeing starting big games for the All Blacks in the future. I'm not sure about on this tour. If anything, this tells me that the old firm of Ethan de Groot, Tyrell Lomax, Cody Taylor, they're going to be in there against England, but these are going to be your guys on the reserve bench at Twickenham, I would expect. Pasilio Tosi has been a real comer, and he just looks so physical and imposing when he's out there. He is excellent with the ball in hand, not just at the set piece, but around the field. And I think that's what really caught Razor's eye about him, is that mobility, ability to offload, that X factor. The rest of the world has caught up with some of those skills, but I still think when you have athletes like this, you do have a point of difference with New Zealand compared to other international teams. Moving on to the locks, Scott Barrett, he is being rested for England. So you have Patrick Tuipulotu coming in as captain. Razor just said one word when asked why this guy: Mana. And if you look back at the Blues campaign this year, where Patrick led, that's a fair assessment. He had Mana for days. He led from the front. I just think about his pick and go throughout that campaign. Unstoppable almost, just gritty, determined. He's played on injured this year in a number of big games. So I think he's richly earned the captain's armband this week. And I think having his experience available, he's pushing 50 caps for the All Blacks. It does also allow you to sit out Ardie Savea, get him ready for England. Ardie's usually the vice captain to Scott Barrett's captain. So you're taking out pretty much 2 of your most experienced guys there. And that is where Sam Cane at 7 just becomes a must. Now, there's a bit of controversy before this tour. Do we leave TJ Perenara and Sam Cane at home? Because despite all the great things they've done for the black jersey, they're not going to be here next year. Well, once 3 loose forwards dropped in the lead up to this tour, Sam Cane became just a non-negotiable, if he wasn't already. And it also allows you to put Samipeni Finau in there. And look, this is a representation of the depleted depth chart. I am someone who said that Samipeni does have an upside. I stick by that. I think there's a chance that at some point this guy does click at international level. It's not going to happen from just watching All Blacks games at home, okay? He does have to keep playing. This is probably a good opportunity for him to get some confidence back, have a good, strong physical game against a team who, isn't at the quality of an England, who he started against earlier this year. Don't forget. I mean, he has had a little bit of a precipitous fall here, really. If you look at the All Blacks movers and losers this year, unfortunately, he is in that camp of a guy who has lost ground. His stock has trended down. So that's a really welcome opportunity for him. And here's what you guys are probably going to like about that. Because you put Finau into that 6 jersey, now you can pick Wallace Satiti at 8. Now, Razor really doesn't seem to want to say that Satiti is best at 8. Anytime he's asked, and he has been asked multiple times by journos, he says Satiti, he can play more. He could play 7 if he wants to, but he really is he's a loose forward, jack of all trades, if you will. Well, maybe, but I think it's possible that we'll see he's even better at 8 than he is at 6 at international level. And now we have a chance to do that. And that's what's exciting for me about this team. Number 9, Cam Roigard. He was out for 6 months. He's played a couple of NPC games, looked sharp. He's been training with the All Blacks. For me, this is a case of if you're going to have Cam coming off the bench in those big games, England, Ireland, France, you have to start him this week. You have to give him 50 or 60 minutes under his belt. He just won't be cooked enough. He needs a little bit of time in the oven. I don't think you want to run out against top 5 teams without having one hit out as a starter under your belt. So he is an X-factor player, could be a generational talent, and I think it's the right call to start him here. I don't think it's enough for him just to have a 30-minute cameo off the bench. He needs a good, hard hit out, blow out the lungs, get some contact, just have some time back in the driver's seat at 9. Now, interestingly, Damien McKenzie starts at 10. Beauden Barrett's rested. That is the strongest indicator I have seen yet that Beauden is going to start against England and Damien McKenzie is going to come off the bench. I just think, why would you rest Beauden otherwise, unless he's going to be playing massive minutes in these big games coming up? And with Will Jordan excelling at fullback now, from what we've seen from this limited sample size at international level, his form at fullback has just gone up and up. I don't think Razor's going to walk that back. I really don't. I think he's going to stick with Jordan at fullback. That tells me that Bodie is going to play 10 against England or Ireland. He may job share with Damien McKenzie, but my money would be on Beauden starting at 10 in London. Mark Talia's back in after falling out of favour a little bit, and I think it's simply because, we've played teams who really love to punish you with the high ball. South Africa, chief amongst them, and we've seen some other options who are better. Caleb Clark, certainly the best high ball merchant in the team, but even if you put Jordan there at 14, probably better at diffusing the high bombs given his fullback credentials. So there's a feeling that Talia maybe hasn't been the man for the job. In a game like this, he's perfect. This is going to be a very attacking game. I predict a very open and expansive game. This is a chance for him to kind of say, hey guys, don't forget about me. Remember how good I was in the Rugby World Cup knockout stages. Remember the damage I could do. So if Talia can really tighten up his high ball work and his defensive work, yeah, he could be back starting again, but things are getting congested in the back 3, and we'll talk more about these other positions in a second here. But the center combination, interesting. Anton Leonard-Brown, you need that experience there. Don't even have anything to say. I'm a fan of ALB. But Billy Proctor back in needs another start. He only started once this year against Fiji. Fantastic. Love this guy and love his distribution skills. Rieko Ioane is an amazing international player. He's a highly experienced player. His pace is next level. The question mark you guys have, and I read all your comments, is he the best at setting up his outsides? Yes, Rieko can break the line. Yes, Rieko can put on the afterburners. Does he then finish his opportunities as well as a guy like Proctor does? Well, this weekend we get another chance to see Proctor in action in a black jersey. Think that's going to be really important, but I don't see Anton Leonard-Brown and Proctor starting in the midfield next week against England. I think if you're leaving out Geordie Barrett, if you're leaving out Rieko Ioane, that's a pretty clear signal those guys are going to be there in midfield, or perhaps ALB and Geordie with Rieko going to the right wing. Never say never. You could see it on this tour. Watch this space. Sevu Reece, one of the few players who retains his spot from the last All Blacks game against the Wallabies. And then Stephen Perifetta. Now you might think, why not start Ruben Love here? Well, Stephen Perifetta started at fullback against England earlier this year. So you can sort of say he was the incumbent in that position. He did have some injuries. So I think Razor's saying, listen, you didn't necessarily lose your spot on form. You lost it through injury. Some other guys have come in and made some ground. But let's put you back there against Japan and see how you go. And I think he'll do really well. I think this is a game perfect for his skill set. It's very much an attacking-minded backline. I mean, geez, it starts with this halves combination, which could just be an absolute hurricane of attacking rugby. No pun intended. So then we go to the bench. You got George Bell, who's only played against Fiji. Obviously, with Cody Taylor not in the mix, he's the next cab off the rank. Afa Tuangafasi brings experience. Fletcher Newell, he is a regular in these squads. And Peter Lakai on debut. Hoping he gets 30 minutes. I think that would be fantastic. If the game is somewhat comfortable, I guess you pull Kane with 30 minutes to go, because we're going to need Sam Kane in those big games. And I reckon that Razor's asking for a big stint from Kane, perhaps an hour. Give me an hour, 55 minutes an hour. And why not pull him early, keep him sharp? Because I actually do think Kane is one of the guys in this team who could be starting next week, because they might put Artie back at 8. Otherwise, if Satiti has an absolute blinder at 8, the other option is that you put Artie Savia at 7, but it might just be a little bit too much tinkering. And I think that Razor, at this point, with all the loose forward injuries, is thinking, I want to see Artie at 7 again. Maybe 2025 is a better time. TJ Perenara backs up Cam Roigard. I think that's good. We've got to remember, Cam Roigard, even though he is a freakishly gifted player, minimal rugby this year. So having TJ's experience on the bench, if something goes a bit awry in this game, there's nothing wrong with that. David Havili, not a popular player. He is a utility player, though, and he allows you to rest some of your bigger guns for next week. So I wouldn't really read into this. I don't think Havili's going to get many minutes on this tour, and he's an ideal bench player for Japan, for Italy. And finally, Ruben Love. Now, this one I'm incredibly excited about. He should come on at fullback. Hell, maybe we'll even see him at 10, because I think he could be covering 10 here. Don't think it'll happen next week, but against Japan, more open game, you think maybe he could acquit himself pretty well. But this is a great look to the future here. It's an exciting team. It certainly signals Razor's intentions for the tour going forward when they have to play the heavyweights. Is there a player here that you're particularly excited to see in action? Let me know in the comments. And guys, I'll be back to break down the game on the weekend. You have a wonderful week. I will catch you soon. Take it easy. Bye for now.